Welcome to something short and sweet on the Parsha. This week, Parshas Mishpatim, which concludes with telling us some of the events of the revelation at Sinai. I want to share with you today an absolutely fantastic medrash. It says that when Moshe Rabbeinu went up, he was accosted by angels, a gang of angels. Bikshu lifgoa b'Moshe. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu stepped in. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu changed the facial features of Moshe Rabbeinu to look like Avraham Avinu. And he said to the angels, you ought to be embarrassed. Don't you remember when you went down and you visited him? Remember how he took care of you? The Medrash goes on, and the Medrash says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu then turned to Moshe, and he said that the Torah is being given to man in the merit of Avraham Avinu. What is this Medrash talking about? Why were the angels upset with Moshe? What was HaKadosh Baruch Hu changing the facial features of Moshe Rabbeinu to look like Avraham Avinu? Aren't you embarrassed? What's the message here? So the Mefarshim say that the angels believed that mortal man could not understand the Torah and couldn't fulfill the Torah. It's too sublime. It's too deep. And therefore, what is mortal man doing here? Who is this Moshe Rabbeinu? Get him out of here. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in response, shows them Avraham Avinu. Why Avraham Avinu? Within the personality of Avraham Avinu is the answer to the angel's claim. Avraham Avinu, more than anything else, was the Amud HaChesed. Avraham Avinu, pillar of kindness. He was the exemplar of Nosei Ba'ol Im Chavero. As a matter of fact, a very good friend of mine, Reb Nachum Rakoff, recently showed me a medrash, which Rabbi Cheskel Levenstein quotes, who says that the reason why Avraham Avinu was worthy of having prophecy was not because of his emunah. It was not because of his righteousness, his tzidkes. It was because he was nosei ba'ol. He bore the burden. He felt the pain. He put himself into the shoes of the Sedomim. And he went to battle with HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the lives of the Sedomim. He was nosei ba'ol im chavera. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was showing the Malachim, your claim that a human being can't appreciate the depth, the sublime nature of the Torah, and certainly can't fulfill the Torah, you're right. But there's some midah, there's a character trait, which allows a person to go beyond themselves. Your claim that a human being is still physical and he has drives, and therefore he can't connect with the depth and the spirituality of the Torah, there is one character trait that allows him to go beyond, to see deeper. And that is the midah of nosei ba'ol im chavero, to be able to completely get beyond oneself and see and feel and empathize, to get beyond one's proclivities, one's desires. And this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells the angels. You ought to be embarrassed. Because when Avraham Avinu came to Avraham Avinu's house, what was he doing? He was having an audience with God. He was enjoying the supreme spiritual ecstasy. He was having nevuah. And what did he do? He stopped the conversation with God, and he went to take care of the most minute details of the physical needs of a human being. To the point, our Chazal tell us that he slaughtered 3 animals because he wanted to give each one the finest piece of meat. Avraham Avinu, a man in the clouds, was able to get beyond. He was able to see the needs, a need that he doesn't have and he never had. He wasn't looking to have pickled tongue. He never was looking for that. But he was able to appreciate what somebody else needs. And why should the angels be embarrassed? Because they couldn't see into Avraham Avinu. They couldn't see into Moshe Rabbeinu. Bikshu lifgoabo. They wanted to accost him. Get out of it. Get out of here. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you aren't Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was able to see into the other person's mind, into the other person's heart, to empathize with the needs. Not you, angels, because if you would appreciate what man is. This man who is standing in front of you, Moshe Rabbeinu, is a descendant of Avraham Avinu, and so is all of Klal Yisrael. And all of Klal Yisrael has the potential to get beyond and to be able to appreciate the sublime nature of the halachos of the Torah and be able to get beyond themselves and to fulfill every aspect, no matter how lofty. They have the potential to do it. The Medrash concludes by saying, the proof that is in the merit of Avraham Avinu is a verse in Tehillim that says Moshe Rabbeinu went up to heaven. Shavisa Shivya. Shavisa Shevi, excuse me. He took a captive, which means, according to Chazal, Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai and he was able to capture the Torah. Lokachas matnos ba'adam. You were able to take that matana, that gift ba'adam, with the man. And the Medrash explains, who is the man? Avraham Avinu. Zelgen Epstein, the great Rosh Hashiva of Shara Torah in Queens, he said a hesped on Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, the great sage of Yerushalayim, passed away in the 90s, was considered the Gadol Hador, the Posek Hador. After Moshe Feinstein passed away, he was considered to be the final stop, the final halachic authority. And when he passed away, Reb Zelig said about him, although he was the Posek Hador, somebody's going to replace him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't leave us orphaned. Somebody's going to step in. But he says, as far as the Tzuras HaAdam, the form of man that this Reb Shlomo Zalman attained, the perfection to be able to be called an Adam, that, he said, is irreplaceable. Reb Shlomo Zalman brought everyone in to his world. He empathized with them. He cared for them. He understood them, no matter how distant, religiously or physically they were from him. He was able to peer into their hearts. He was able to understand. He was able to love, and he was able to give. He had a smile that would emanate from Yerushalayim that pierced hearts all over the world, as his Psak Halacha did. He had this Tzuras Ha'adam. And that's what the angels are being taught. A Jew has the potential for the Tzuras Odom of Avraham Avinu. Actually, Parshas Mishpatim depicts HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Har Sinai. And it says, Vayiru es Elokei Yisrael. Klal Yisrael, they saw the God of Israel. V'sachas Ragnov Kamasa Livnas HaSaper, and under his feet there was like this sapphire brickwork, Hu Ke'etzem HaShamayim LaTohar, and like the essence of the heaven in purity. What is this metaphor? Rashi explains. What is the sapphire brickwork underneath HaKadosh Baruch Hu's feet? He hoisal the fun of B'shas HaShibud. This alludes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu being there and being aware of Klal Yisrael during their servitude in Mitzrayim. Lizkar Tzarosan, God always remembered their trouble. Shahayu Mishubadim Maisa Levenim, because they were working with bricks. So to speak, in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's office, there would pile of bricks that he always remember Klal Yisrael. What does it mean? Ke'etzem Hashemayim L'Toar. Mishenigalu, when Klal Yisrael was redeemed, Chayor, then there was light v'chedvo lefanav. Then there was light and there was great joy in front of HaKadosh Baruch. How do we see HaKadosh Baruch? How does a human being behold the divine presence? It's through the midos of HaKadosh Baruch. It's through his attributes. It's how he relates to mankind. Vayiru es Elokei Yisrael. They saw the God of Israel. Of all the midos, of all the attributes, we say Hashem, Hashem, Kel, Rachel v'Chanun, the 13 attributes of God. What is the attribute that Klal Yisrael was able to behold at the revelation at Sinai? No se ba'olim chavero. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu can see beyond. He can empathize deeply. He can get beyond kavayochel, if we could talk this way, get beyond himself and go into the heart of human beings. That is the midah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put on display for Klal Yisrael at the revelation of Sinai, because that is the midah which allows a human being to assimilate the Torah, to inculcate the Torah, to appreciate the sublimity of the Torah. No say ba'ol im chavero. The angels learned a great lesson. Every single Jew has the ability to change their facial features, so to speak, into that of Avraham Avinu, because he is our spiritual grandfather. Moshe Rabbeinu had Avraham Avinu within himself, and he became the ultimate in Noseh Ba'ol Shel Chavero, bearing that burden, being able to empathize, being able to understand somebody else, even though it is not in my experience. Normally, people are only able to understand something outside themselves if they compare it to their world. In the extreme case, they project on other people their issues. But certainly, how almost can a person understand another person, appreciate another person, or appreciate the word of God if it's not through their own experience? The Noseh Ba'ol has the potential. That's the one midah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed. That's the midah that the angels learned that every single Jew has. The face of Avraham Avinu and the heart of Avraham Avinu within every one of us. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos.